Hello and welcome to the Pirates Fan Forum here on DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. I'm your host, Gary Morgan. With me, as always, my good friend Jim Stam. How you doing, brother?
Doing all right, man. Listen, I'm going to give us some damn props right now because Pitt football is on, and we are still here, doing the Pirates podcast live.
I'm already struggling to not give you a spoiler alert.
I know, like we're doing it differently, right? Like I'm DVRing and pausing the game. You're cheating and doing it. You've got one eye on that TV screen right now, and I've threatened you already with updates. So
well, I can't keep it up.
Let's see how this works.
It out of the comments, man. I can't keep it out of the comments, but
I will. If it ends up in the comments, I'm just telling you now. During the show, I'm going to beat somebody with a wet Primanti sandwich.
Needless to say, so far, H2P and Anthony Filipponi, polar opposite of what he predicted, as you should have expected by now.
That's shocking.
Okay.
Shocking.
Okay. So anyways, let's see. Randy Duncan says, live? Yeah, we're live. We're always live. Do it live every time. Anyways, World Series, Jim. It's finally decided, okay? And I know people love to think that this happens all the time, but LA and New York have not gotten together in the World Series in a long time, right? So super kind of excited to see actually this set of players personally. Let's talk the baseball first. And then maybe let's talk a little bit about in our market, some other things that go through our mind about this matchup when we come back from the break. Let's spend the first part talking about actual baseball.
Okay, because it's a shame in this sport that it doesn't always stay in that category. So yeah, let's try it.
Well, let's make sure that, and Randy, welcome, man. I'm glad that you were able to make it. So, yeah, and Dave says Bridge to Bucktober did a live stream during a Steelers game Sunday night. Well, that's because Josh openly doesn't care about that. I'm not sure that I would push it that far. I'm just assuming there's a lot of Pirates fans that aren't Pitt fans, so I can't really use it as an excuse to push it out of the way. But
if they're masochists and they like us and we like both Pitt and the Pirates, well, I'm sorry.
Right. I mean, we're living through right now. We're in mid-June and it looks like they're in contention. So just so you can understand how we as Pitt fans feel right now.
Yes.
You old Pirates fans.
That's far too accurate. So.
Right. I mean, we even just got a new manager who promises different things.
Oh boy.
But anyways, the World Series, I think it's a great matchup, honestly.
It is.
The pure baseball fan in me is really, really excited about watching some of these players go head to head. Really, Juan Soto, Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton. I mean, Volpe is an interesting young player.
Freddie,
you can go on.
Freddie Freeman, Cole,
with the whole kid situation going on, and the short porch in right at Yankee Stadium, and how hard it is to hit home runs at night at Chavez Ravine, and just oh my god, it's going to be great. And Fernando Valenzuela just passed, there's going to be a big homage to him Friday night, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. But man, Jim, this is cool. This is what I want to see, the best players in the world play. And I would have been happy if Cleveland got in, don't get me wrong, but it would have been the dominant story would have been the underdog. David taking down Goliath, and this is Goliath versus Goliath. And man, I just kind of want to watch Godzilla and King Kong beat up on each other a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, look, from a standpoint of talent and best teams, we are getting that. And that's the attractive part of this series, right? Is that you are getting the two best teams. That doesn't always happen. You are going to see the biggest stars in the game. I think and I have a feeling we'll give our predictions because
Yeah, you have to.
that's what we do. But I think it's a 7-game series, at worst a 6-game, and it's the best of the best. How they get there is another thing. But yes, on the field, this is a very too close to call series.
I mean, we have the Pittsburgh connection of, and I think it's a lot stronger for the New York side of things. Garrett Cole. Some people really still have a bug up their ass for him here, which I don't get. He never did anything to you negative. Sorry, he just didn't. Garrett Cole is a good player. I'd love to see him get a World Series. And Clay Holmes, I think I was one of the weirdo Pittsburgh fans who thought he was good before he got traded to the Yankees, and he turned out good. He's kind of my current day Colin Holderman. So when I like rant and rave about not giving up on Colin Holderman, kind of think of Clay Holmes for me.
That's
where I'm
actually
at.
pretty fair. You would think we would learn as fans that especially with relievers, there can be some ups and downs, and Clay Holmes is a perfect example of that.
Yeah. So what do you think would be the keys to this series? I mean, what matchups do the most? I have a proposal that I'll toss out first. I think the Yankees have a ton of strikeout pitchers, and the Dodgers have walked their way to the World Series in this postseason. They are patient. They straight up don't swing at bad pitches. A lot of that lineup. I think the Yankees could very well walk themselves into being down 2-0 in this series before they even realize what's happening.
Yeah, that's interesting because I wasn't approaching it that way as far as just their
Michael
approach.
wants to point out that Brent Honeywell is over there with the Dodgers, and I think Anthony Bonda as well. Correct. So,
did he make the?
I don't even know, Jim.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, if you do know, Gary, I'm gonna send a team of doctors to make sure you're okay. But yeah, I mean, the Dodgers are kind of relentless. Not only do they have the beef in the lineup, they're deep, and their approach is 46 runs in the NLCS. I think they scored, which was a record.
Look at Max Muncy alone. Look at what Max Muncy alone did in that last playoff series. I mean, he was on like 16 times in a row or something, and it was like I think almost 10 of them were walks. Like, unbelievable patience at the plate. I mean,
for sure,
they are more than taking what is being offered to them. And the Yankees, again, I think Garrett Cole is a very good opening starter for them because he's been around a minute and he knows how to beat you in a couple different ways. So if that's the way you want to play, he can pitch to contact, and he might. Carlos Rodon, nope. If you ain't swinging at trash, he's a lot like Liriano used to be.
If you can lay off, yeah.
And Schmidt's untested.
All right. So look, obviously this is a good conversation. I've got lots to say about it too. Let's take this break and then we'll continue that. What do you think?
Got you, man. I get carried away with the World Series, man.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
All right, welcome back to the Pirates Fan Forum here on DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. Couple show notes before we get back into the World Series. Next Thursday, let's see. Next Thursday, is that Halloween, Jim? Already? I think it
I
is.
think it is. I think
Yeah.
that maybe even we might have something special planned, Gary.
Yeah, next Thursday, 8:00, Halloween special. If you've been
Mhm.
following the show for a while and you watched our Christmas special, kind of think that, but for Halloween. That's what we're going to do. It's going to be fun. I'm going to try to dress up as a goofy skeleton, and we'll see how long you guys can hear me and, and whether I can
how
see.
much you're sweating under your mask.
Yeah, I mean, will I be a skeleton like wearing glasses on top of it because I can't read? I mean, it could be. We don't know how it's going to turn out yet. Is my wife going to have to do makeup on me to cover up the white? I don't know. I don't know how it works. We got to test all this stuff. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. You have shown me what you're doing. I am keeping mine under top secret wraps. I promise you. I told you this already, Gary. I will tell our listeners, try to view this one because I got something special cooking. So that's all I'm saying.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And there will be no singing of Thriller. There will not be.
No, it's a no singing show. And
yeah,
but we're gonna have some fun. Hey, the Pirates are scary sometimes. We're gonna talk about that.
yep.
We're gonna do some Halloween trivia. It's gonna be a good time.
We're going to tell some horror stories about the Pirates.
Oh,
It's going to be wonderful.
wow.
I can't wait.
Is that a 5-hour podcast
Yeah,
episode?
so be there. And also, I kind of just let this slip. I didn't even think about it. We went through our 3-year anniversary. We never even mentioned it on here. So
We did.
We've been doing this for 3 years now, man. So, yay, good for us. I mean,
Yay. Hey, my wife and I forgot our own anniversaries. So, the fact that I missed this is no surprise. But hey, congratulations, sir.
So, anyways, back to the World Series.
Back to the important stuff.
Obviously, we have finances we got to deal with as well. When we start talking about arguably the two richest teams in baseball facing off in the biggest game, they should be the best teams. They are, and for once, it actually worked out that they made it there. Okay, It hasn't happened like this in a really long time. Money gets you tickets into the dance, but it doesn't necessarily get you to be the last one standing. So it's different to actually see it pan out this way. I'm excited about the game and the action on the field, but as a Pirates fan, it's really hard to not look at that with a little bit of jade, right? I mean, a little bit of like envy, if you will, a little bit of. Well, let me read you a quote from like David Stearns, okay, like their recently departed Mets. The entirety of the player universe is potentially accessible to us. That's an enormous opportunity. I envision us taking advantage of that opportunity and being aggressive in certain spaces. My friends, I don't care who buys this baseball team. That is not something you will ever hear here under this system in Major League Baseball. So, in fact, I've never heard anybody say something so brash, even though it's true, in any market. I've never heard anything like that. That's literally like, I can spend anything I freaking want. I don't know that anybody would be smart to say that out loud, really, when you're trying to negotiate with some of these players, man. That tells me the Mets are going to take a swing at Soto.
Yeah, I do think that, by the way. Side note.
Well, this might be the last time the Yankees are this form of the Yankees, is the point.
Look, if you're a fan of one of these teams, like the Mets, like the Yankees, like the Dodgers, you just eat it up, right? I mean, like there is a pursuit of excellence. There is the financial means to do so. And of course, anytime any of these teams fans get in any type of chat about a salary cap or anything, they're just totally dismissive of it. And that I get.
I would be too.
Yeah. I think me and you are aware enough overall as a sport, there would be something in the back of our minds saying, boy, this isn't really super fair.
I
But
can't say because this is what I was brought up under. If
yeah,
I was
and why would you really care?
If I was brought up underneath that, I would think that from afar, I would just be like, I don't understand why they don't spend like we do. We have better
Right.
fans than they do. Like that's the way I would be looking at it. Like I grew up in this, so like I know, we're disadvantaged in that regard. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's like try to feed ramen to somebody that grew up eating gourmet food for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Sure.
It's how do I describe to you that that's actually good and you can live on that?
Yeah, look, the Mets fans have had their share of, misery. I know the Yankees and Dodgers fans think they do, but the Mets have had more disappointments along the way
Sure.
and spending money. So, as I sit and watch this series, what's going to end up happening for me is I'm gonna love the theater, and I'm gonna appreciate the great baseball you see, but there's going to be times when a comment is made or something along the lines of,
Like somebody's
how
going to
much,
go, look at the investment the Dodgers made in this season to be champions, right?
or
And it's gonna
what
be like,
they've
yeah.
overcome, like that kind of stuff.
My
Then
favorite is
I'm
when they
gonna,
go, they invested over $750 million into this team. And you're like,
yeah,
you know that you're that's pretty much a cell phone, right? You're
right.
you
So
got teams that aren't even worth that.
that stuff will get me cranky during it. But then again, you're going to see Ohtani and you're going to see Judge, and by the way, Gary, why are team like it? I would give both of them the Barry Bonds treatment at this point. Like, I just wouldn't let them beat me. If it meant I had to walk them constantly, I think I'd do it. I think I would just not lose the series to Ohtani, and I wouldn't lose it to Judge. If someone else wants to beat me, I'd do it.
I hate that you're right. I mean, like if you're coaching this team, you probably try to minimize the opportunities they have. I would think that the Yankees probably have a little bit scarier of a backing for Judge, like with Soto. I don't know that I'd want to face Soto or Judge, really. Like, and they're back to back. That's very difficult. I know you got Shohei and Mookie, but like they're different kinds of hitters. Mookie can take you deep, but more often than not, Mookie's just going to get on base and steal and maybe slap a double. You know what I mean?
And
Shohei's the one that can
Freddie's
punish you.
hobbled too. Yeah.
Right.
And so much of this is situational too, because like if guys are getting on in front of them or behind them, even, you may not have a choice. You may not just be able to sit there and say, I'm going to walk you, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I think to me the series really comes down to, can the Dodgers keep doing this bullpen stuff to the success that they've had, which is, first of all, they're punishing the baseball. Their bullpen has been great. Garrett Cole is maybe a former Pirate. We've talked about him already, but to me, he's almost like the guy that like could be the difference maker. What do you get out of his starts? And the Dodgers are trying to get through with that bullpen. I think Garrett Cole might be a huge difference maker.
He could be. I mean, the Yankees are definitely going with more traditional starters, and the Dodgers aren't. Now, the Dodgers aren't really doing that by choice. That's kind of how it happened. I mean, like, they were decimated by injuries. And it is smoke and mirrors to a degree.
Regardless of what they've spent, it is smoke and mirrors. They've had
the
to
Yankees
do it.
are a much better lineup as far as like competition than the Mets. The Mets were a cute story and everything, but there's enough breaks in the Mets lineup that you can get around it using 8 pitchers a game, like the Dodgers were, you know. So we'll see how this goes, but it's going to be interesting. Let's do our picks and then let's move on to a Pirates subject before we lose our whole audience.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. We do still love baseball.
Yeah.
I'm going to look, as I started looking at this really closely, I was like, man, this is really tough. So I ended up going 7-game series. I think they're that closely matched. And I think at the end of it, I'm going to give the Yankees it in 7.
I think I'm going to go with the Yankees too.
It's a toss-up. It to me so much hinges on that Dodgers bullpen and how they're trying to win games. If there is a crack in that will swing the series, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I'm going Yankees too. And the reason I am is I just can't believe the Dodgers pitching is going to hold up against the Yankees lineup. I think it's gonna take what was already a war of attrition and add in some injury too. You know, like you're already like running out of supplies. Well, now they're gonna go ahead and chop you off at the knees too, and see. You know,
yeah.
I just think there's too much punishment in that lineup. That's all I'm saying. But
and they rode them hard. They've had to ride their bullpen hard. Can they make it through one more series?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I'd say the Yankees have a slight edge. Plus, the Yankees, I could argue, probably a little more battle tested. They had a hell of a fight to win that division. That was a tough division, you know.
Yeah, well, you know, it's interesting. Hell of a fight to get to the division, but then an easier path maybe.
Right.
With how they got there. So, you know, have they been tested as much as the Dodgers? I don't know. I really think this is a coin flip. What's Randy saying here?
Yeah, he says, do you guys think that a Ohtani contract deal will have any collective negative impact on other owners? He will be back to pitch next year, right? I believe that his intention is to come back and pitch. I'm not sure I would have him do so, but I think he's going to. He's certainly why he gained that much money. We talked about this a little bit last week with Jason Mackey. You know, I invite you to go listen to that for a little bit more of a complete answer to it. But at the end of the day, the Dodgers are, I believe, the only team in baseball that can actually do a contract like this. You have to have the full value of the contract in escrow and able to present it once a year to team officials to prove that you have it in order to defer that much money. And the only reason they can is because their owners are basically a hedge fund.
Right.
So they can produce the money once a year and then just put it back into investments. In other words, the way they're doing it, by the time they finish paying Ohtani, they will have not really paid him $1 of their own money. And then let's see, 412 Double Play Podcast. Roberts already said Shohei is not going to pitch. Just announced today.
Would be
fun if can I finish reading it?
Sure.
Would be fun if they change their mind and he goes full Bumgartner in Game 7. Are you talking about this series, Michael? Because I'm talking about next year.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, I don't think him pitching this year is going to happen.
How could you? He just threw off a mound the other day. Like
maybe they think that he's built up enough. He came back pretty quick when he came back with the Angels, so who knows how it works for superhumans. But I don't think he's pitching this year. That's not what I was getting at in the first place. Maybe I read the question wrong in the first place, and I was thinking next year the whole time. So,
yeah, I was thinking moving forward. I don't think I hadn't even considered the World Series. I just don't think with that kind of guy you want to do that with him.
That would be something. That'd be something, wouldn't it?
Even as superhuman as he is boy, you're asking a lot of a guy to I just don't see that.
I'd agree with that.
Moving forward, it's really interesting. Garrett, could you see them doing something like where he almost just turns into like a setup man? Like you give you like he's your eighth inning guy if you, or maybe even how crazy would that be if he turns into a closer? That way you could still use him. You're not gonna, run him into the ground like you would as a starting pitcher. I think it's something to think about.
I think the end of the day, it's really up to Shohei. It's what he wants. I would think that they won't prevent him from doing anything he wants. I'm fairly certain he probably has that in his contract. The way that
Or
he
maybe
wants
he's a
to be,
5-inning starter. Maybe he's
it
a
could be
5-inning
something like
starter.
that. I think like the reason that I think he'll probably want to stay a starter is he was putting some hurt on strikeout records and like making himself like a case to be a Hall of Famer 2 times over, as both. And it's just something that made him super unique on top of being super awesome to begin with. So
Right.
I think he'll probably want to remain a starter. I'd also think maybe it would be a little easier on his body to do something like that every 5th day as opposed to, trying to do it 3 or 4 times a week and not necessarily know when you're doing it. And maybe he needs that preparation
there's no
time.
routine. Yeah, there's no routine there as you get.
I love the idea though. I mean, like
it's a super interesting discussion. I will be very curious to see how they move forward with that.
And he's like the only person you could even consider it with, and like on the planet. It's
right.
He's incredible. So, all right, let's move on from the World Series. Let's talk a little bit about the Pirates before we take a break. Let's just mention this: Pirates hired the Kevin Tannenbaum as a new vice president of research and development from the Cleveland Guardians. I think for the most part, if you're happy about this, it's probably because they hired somebody from a successful team. That said, this is a lateral move. That's weird to go from a successful team to an unsuccessful team. They're either paying him more.
What are you implying, sir?
Well, they're either paying him more or he thinks there's room for advancement here.
No, I meant the successful team to unsuccessful team.
Well, I don't think I'm implying anything. I think as one of our favorite people on Twitter says, that's just facts, Jim.
Case closed.
Case closed. Done talking about it, right?
Oh man.
You don't suffer fools, do you?
Gary, let's not get in trouble tonight.
Oh man. Oh, and let's see. Randy is waiting for the new strength coach to put the Pirates over the top. Oh, it's going to be so great once it happens. Yeah, I don't really know much about this position. I know it has something to do with analytics and everything, but I couldn't tell you like in detail what's important about this. I know that I've heard he's well respected. I don't really know too many people that are kind of no-name executives in baseball who aren't considered well respected. Because like who goes around talking about the assistant scouting director and the Oakland athletics system? No, ain't nobody going like, well, yeah, but Steve's a real a-hole. Like that's not how it works.
Sure.
I'm sorry. Like if you're getting hired somewhere, good chance that you have a strong reputation. This
and
stuff comes from search firms anyway. So,
and anybody who's in this space that's going to throw a fit or have a party about something like this, I would caution you, because the reality is you hire people like this, it's kind of an and you see how it works out, which
I don't know how you would even measure success. So I just felt it was worth mentioning because they did something. And then they also brought back Johan Ramirez on a minor league deal, which I think is actually a good move. He did well here. He held down a nice spot in the bullpen for, the World Series contending Dodgers for a whole big chunk of the season. Minor league deal for a guy like that, and you can go ahead and get him right now and knock it out. Cool. Why not? Take it.
Was he slider or sinker heavy? I think he was, right?
Yeah, very, very sweeper heavy.
A
He was like
sweeper.
Kyle Crick,
Sweeper.
only a little more successful. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I thought, like there were times where I liked what I saw from him. He doesn't seem to sustain it. I don't know if if teams are just able to lay off of it enough and he can't adjust to that. But I don't have an issue with it. But it's a blip
Yeah,
on
and
the
then
radar
I know
screen.
I heard from Dayon on his show, and I read it someplace else as well. That it sounded like there's two people that are supposed to be coming from Cleveland. They haven't officially announced this one, which should probably lead you to believe that they haven't locked down the second one yet that they're trying to get, and they want to intro these as a package deal. So we'll see
Well,
what that is.
Cleveland's gotten um, more with less. I will say that.
Yes.
Maybe some of that trickles over to the Pirates. Boy, could they use it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem I have with things like this, and I've been proven wrong once about this already, so like follow my train of thought here. It isn't like I knew Huey when they hired him from Tampa. Okay. The pitching coordinator.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not like I was like, "Oh yeah, that guy, he's going to revolutionize things." I didn't know that. I just knew he was coming from a good organization, and my concern was he's going to come here and then the Pirates are going to pirate. And they're basically going to go like, "Well, that's cool what you used to do there.
But listen
But
to this.
have you heard of sinkers? Let me tell you something. You're going to get some odds if you're throwing them
Yeah.
sinkers there, pal." And then he basically gets rendered ineffective because here he is doing that. So I was worried about that. I think I've been proven wrong on that. That has not been how that's turned out. The pitching has come along. He's had a big say in that. And I think they've done really well in that department. Maybe this has something to do with the hitting, because remember, Andy Haynes was in charge of that from top to bottom. Maybe they're bringing in some kind of intermediate there too to kind of help coordinate it, that knows what he's doing a little bit more. Until I see it, I shouldn't guess, but I'm just going to say I'm not going to totally negate the coming from successful organization aspect of it, because they've already proven to me that can work, and it has worked. So I want to see it. I want to see if they continue to have it work. Let's take that quick break. Come back, do your poll question about good old David Bednar.
Ooh.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
All right, welcome back to the Pirates Fan Forum here on DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. Listen, it's been a few weeks. Our schedule's been all erratic too, like being on at 8 o'clock. Let's get back to sending in some Call Your Shots. We still have this great sponsor, shopyins.com. Get out there and check them out. All their cool stuff there. Let's get some Call Your Shots in. I haven't bothered you because I didn't get the sense that people were in the mood to be coming up with questions about this team. So if you have anything you can think of you want us to talk about, send it in. Call Your Shot. Discount on some cool stuff.
Yeah, we were giving people a little bit of a mental health break from the Pirates, which I don't know why you would need. I say that very facetiously, but yeah. So get back on it. We'll get back into the swing of things. We appreciate everyone sticking with us as we have to move this show around a little bit.
Right. So, poll question. You go, for the sake of argument, you can choose, and I think the whole point was to cause an argument, so I'm not 100% sure there, but For the
I
sake
meant for
of
the terms below, Gary.
I know. For the sake of argument, you can choose to bring back either David Bednar or, that's the key word there, or Aroldis Chapman for the terms below. Chapman, 1 year, $10 million. Bednar, 1 year, $6 million.
Yep, gotta pick.
It was well voted.
Mm-hmm.
66.3% chose Chapman at 1 year, $10 million, and they're getting rid of Mr. Bednar. 33.7%
The Yinzers have turned.
Wanted to keep Bednar. I went Bednar on this one, and if you listened to the show last week, I'm going to go ahead and guess that's not what you thought that I would do, but I think 10 million is too much to spend on a reliever. I think they got very lucky that Chapman worked out for what they gave him. And to be honest, for what they gave him, you should expect better than what he put on paper. For 10.5 million, you should get an under 4 ERA. Like that's a lot of money for a reliever. So I'd rather have two relievers that I think are pretty good than one that I pray is, because I'm screwed if he isn't.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I think you can make an argument both ways on this. I would lean Bednar simply because I think.
See, Doug Smith says Bednar, easy choice. Dave White, I voted Bednar, hope for a return.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this,
Waters, Gary. Bednar.
All right.
Where were you guys voting?
Yeah, listen. I voted. I would vote Bednar too, and this is the reason. Let me back up just a second and get your take on this. Is this more about just how bad Bednar was, or is this more about Pirates fans just not willing to accept anything less than good right now or improvement? Or is it a little bit of both?
I think it's this simple. One of the comments underneath your poll from Kyle Steiner. Chapman, love Bednar as a person, but he's cooked. That seems to be the common thought. He is cooked. They basically are like he's not gonna return to form. And I think the reason that I am able to kind of see past that is mostly because I think the peripherals are still there. Like if his fastball was coming in at like 92, 93 right now,
right,
I'd be there with you. He's cooked. I wouldn't be sitting here telling you they can mechanically fix him and get his velocity back and blah, blah. If it was like, well, the fastball's plenty fast, but where the hell's it going? I would tell you like, yeah, move on. It's not like that. He's missing by an inch or two higher than he'd like to get that swing or the pop up that he usually gets at the very top of the zone. He's missing with his curveball ever so slightly. The fastball velocity's there. He's just not hitting his spots. He needs to be pinpoint. Let's not mess around about it. He's a guy that has to hit his spots.
Uh-huh.
As fast as he can throw the ball, he's got to hit his spots or it's not that effective, right?
Right.
I think that can be accomplished just with him cleaning up his mechanics and getting rid of some of what I guess was tipping. But again, I wouldn't offer him $6 million either if I have to do it. I'm just based on $6 million. I'd bite that bullet before I'd go the $10 million route because I think I can get another pretty good pitcher for $4 million. You get what I mean?
Well, I mean, if you're counting pennies like Pirate fans tend to do, simply because of the reality.
Here, add this into your thought process from Aaron.
Okay.
You can build a decent bullpen off waivers Just save the money for the rest of the roster. Not Aaron. This is from Aaron Carter here. I don't disagree with you, but I think one of the major places the Pirates have where they have a clear need and a clear place where they can add talent is that bullpen. It's the easiest thing to go out and patch, and it happens to be something they need too.
If I can split hairs with Aaron, I would say I don't know if you're going to do it off waivers. I think you're going to do it in free agency a little bit, and there are still some bargains to be had there. But I also agree that that's where you can use some of that money to get one of those guys if you need to, and they do.
Like I agree. I think in spirit too. Like, you know, like one of our best relievers last year was Dennis Santana. Picked him up off waivers. That sort of thing happens. The year before, we picked up Baraki off waivers, and he was really strong towards the end, right? I mean, Dowry Moretta came for a Kevin Newman trade, you know, like, and he was a nobody, you know, and you know, he got hurt all last year, so who knows what he will be when he comes back. But you're totally right that bullpens kind of just come together. I just don't think the Pirates are in a position where they can afford to go into spring throwing spaghetti against the wall.
Hoping, like,
Yeah,
just hope is the strategy.
you're going to have to do a degree of hope one way or another. Okay. You're going to have to have a little bit of hope when you're talking about a bullpen. I'm just saying, like, you have to have a few things that you know are beyond hope. They're like, this guy's done this 7 out of the last 8 years. I know that bare minimum, this is what I'm going to get out of him. I have to have that element. Let's talk about something like the elephant in the room, because again, it's a problem. Lefty pitching. They have to have a lefty for this bullpen, maybe two. And they don't have anything. They don't have anything even coming. You know, you can't even put Anthony Solomito in that.
No, not at this point. No.
No, not. If I had to guess, not next year. I think there's a lot of things like that. They're going to have to get some lefties. Maybe that's where you spend money. But do you trust Bailey Falter? Like, because there's another situation. He's the only lefty starter. Period.
Right.
So maybe do you go out and shore that up and move Falter to the bullpen and solve two holes with one signing? You know, there's a lot of different ways that it can be attacked, but you're totally right. It shouldn't be like, yeah, Oviedo, Nelson, Waters just brought up here. Of course. Yeah, that's another guy that could be a factor there. Maybe he ends up in the rotation. Maybe Ortiz goes back to the bullpen. But none of that solves the left-handed thing. That's what I mean. You're going to have some kind of combination where you go out and hit the free agent market, make some trades, make some shrewd moves, promote some starters and move them into it, just like you did with Majinski out of nowhere.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of things like that you got to do.
Yeah, and what you want to try to do is just eliminate, like, question marks. Yeah, the guys we're talking about, sure, maybe. But if there's somebody you can go out there and go, yes, I really feel confident about signing this reliever and that he is going to be a piece. I think that's what you want to try to do, is just start. You know, this team already has enough question marks, right? Like, about possibilities, but who knows? To me, it's just about, like, is there a guy you can sign and feel really comfortable?
Like, if you can spend some money or you can swing a trade, because I don't know his contract situation. I'm not going to look it up. But if you can go out and get, like, AJ Puck from San Diego, you know, or the Giants, whoever has him now, and just pluck him off of, like, that's a proven performer for years and years and years now. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the kind of lefty that I think you need to go out and get. A suitor. You know, you need somebody that has done this in cooker situations. You're gonna laugh. Martin Perez is a guy that has handled the bullpen side of being a left-hander, a long man out of the pen. You might need something like that. I don't think they're going to get him, but like I'm just throwing out names. You could go to Tampa and get somebody like years ago. Yarbrough would have been a good one. Not anymore, but he would have been a good one a while back.
Yeah, and I think like what we're talking about here is like back to the poll question, which is if you have to pick or choose, I can see someone saying, "Well, lefty, right? You want to Chapman is." As much as you don't necessarily know with him, like lefties, it's game over. So I can understand people saying that. To me, it's just a little bit too much juice to spend for a team that's we all know is only going to have so much to spend. That's where I end up.
And I think he's probably going to be looking for similar money for here. I think we'll see that he takes less next year to play somewhere.
That's interesting.
It won't be here because his numbers don't back up getting a raise on what was already a pretty damn big contract. So when he actually goes out and hits the open market, I could see him probably getting offers in the $8 to $9 million range. And at that rate, maybe he does just bounce back to the Pirates, who are like, come on back, big boy. As long as you don't want to raise, we'll give you the same thing. Like, maybe that is how it works out.
Or maybe you tease him with an option or something like that. I don't know.
Maybe, but like I'm just saying the Yankees aren't going to pay him $10 million a year. They don't need to. Like they don't need to. He needs to be a little desperate to come to them. There's some teams like that, and like the teams like the Twins and whatnot. They're trying to lose payroll. They're not trying to drop $10 million on. The Pirates are spending $10 million on a reliever because they've that woefully underspent that they got more than enough room for that $10 million.
Right at that point
last year, yeah,
you could see them. That's why they did an overpay.
Right.
It's a really interesting market for him. And then coupled with all the you just don't know what the offseason is going to look like. But I could see a guy like that getting hurt this offseason.
Like just looking at a guy. I just think it's weird. Like $10.5 million. You can go out and get yourself a number 3 starter for $10.5 million. Like I really mean that.
Right.
I don't know that there's a lot of teams that are going to just happily do that.
Right.
I don't think there's a lot of relievers that are worth that. I don't think Josh Hader is worth that. Do you? I mean, I don't. I don't think Devin Williams is worth that.
It's a big luxury for a team like the Pirates. I will say that. No, there's no way around that.
What's this here? Douglas Smith. Do we know how much they will spend? Never. Never, ever, ever will anyone ever report to you what they will spend, Doug. Never. Nobody that's telling you the truth anyway. Liars might. We know nothing about the plan and the budget. The plan is whatever GMBC. I'm not sure what that is. GMBC? Was that what that was supposed to be? Convinced our owner is smart. I don't think anybody thinks the owner is smart. I know for a fact Ben doesn't. But
oh boy.
I think as far as the plan, no. I mean, like, and I don't really know I don't know what that would look like. They're certainly not going to do what the Mets just did and come out and tell you they can have anything they want and all other buyers be damned. They're going to get it. It's not the Pittsburgh Pirates. That isn't going to happen. Well, they're going to tell you they're going to try to get better. That's what they're going to tell you. They're not going to tell you we're targeting this guy or that guy. Yeah, I mean, that's never going to happen. As far as plan goes, I think if you've watched this team, Do you need to be told the plan? Do you need to be told what they need? They need bullpen arms. They need an outfielder, at least one, and they need a first baseman.
Yeah, I think
And that's
like when you
minimal.
talk, do we know nothing about the plan and the budget? Sure, we don't.
I don't even know
I,
who the
I
hitting
just,
coach is.
yeah, it's just, you have to have tempered, reasonable expectations. And
I got it on pretty good authority. They don't even have the budget yet. Still, just checked last week. Still don't have it.
wouldn't shock me at all. Wouldn't shock me at all. And you don't know how the market's going to go either. Like, are things weird like they were last year and things are dragging out? Who knows? All these guys that were supposed to set the market, they kept waiting and waiting and waiting. There was no market to be set because they weren't signing. So
yeah, I mean, again, Doug, I hate to keep pushing back on you, but like these are just catchphrases, man. Like transparency and honesty is almost zero. Meaning what? Again, they're not going to tell you who they're targeting. No team is going to do that. They're just not. They might hint at who they're going to extend. That's the best I've ever gotten out of them, ever, is people they're talking to in extensions or having extension conversations with. And that kind of can lead you to like maybe what their plan might be as far as like trying to shore up their core, and you kind of understand some of the other moving parts based on things they lock up. But I don't think anybody's ever going to come along and go, listen, we're going to spend $20 million in the bullpen and $15 million on an outfielder and this, and nobody's going to do that.
Well, we don't even.
And they're not even going to tell you that they're absolutely going to fill any of them, because what if you can't? Like, what if you don't wind up finding a first baseman? Then you're going to have to go internally, and then you've got to turn around and act like that was the plan all along, both for the player that actually wins it and you, the fan.
Yeah, and we don't even know about things like arbitration and who there's so many things that we don't know yet. Maybe they don't know.
Yeah, that's like
all I would say is temper your expectations.
Doug gets what I'm saying here. He's like, okay, get better is great, ready to buy a season ticket. Again, I ain't trying to be your salesman. I'm not your ticket agent. I'm not trying to get you excited about it. I'm telling you like the truth. There's no plan that's ever going to get published. Nobody's going to do it. No team has done it. Go look. That Mets quote that I just read you is as close as you've heard. You'll hear it from those teams because they know that we know they could do anything they want. That's all there is to it.
Perfect example right there with the Mets is if they decide nobody's going to have Juan Soto but us.
Providing Juan Soto doesn't absolutely hate the Mets, yes.
Right, but and money is no object.
Mm-hmm.
Juan Soto will be a Met.
And if they want him and Pete Alonso, guess what they'll do? They'll get him and Pete Alonso.
Right.
And they can do it.
It like, I get what Doug's saying. I just look at it as like,
I get what he's saying too. I'm frustrated as well. But like,
right.
I guess like I get real, especially it's political season right now. And I'm getting real sick. I'm getting real sick of catchphrases. Okay. I'm just getting real sick of meaningless, punchless phrases. Like, you want transparency, but what the hell does transparency mean? Like, do you have realistic expectations for what you want this team to tell you? Because it won't happen. It won't happen anywhere. And when it does happen, executives get fired. Look at Seattle. When a general manager comes out and straight up tells you their plan is to manipulate players and spend as little as you possibly can, and this is all you're going to get fired. And if Ben Cherington came out and told you, listen, Ben's got one of my arms tied behind his back, I can't do anything. I'm not allowed to spend a dime without asking him. I can't even get them to stock the soda. It's just like Moneyball. He won't be here anymore. And the next guy will be quiet. Like this is sports. There's a reason that like we get duped into thinking every wide receiver available is going to the Steelers. And Omar Khan's like working some back. He might have even not had a phone call with some of these people.
Right.
You're duped into it because you're expecting that it's actually out there. It's not. Donnie Football doesn't have secrets. Anthony Filipponi does not have secrets about how much they're spending. Nobody does. Nobody has a magic formula of what they're going to do.
Well,
I don't know what people want.
Look, I'm not a huge Ben Charrington fan. I would never comment on something I have no idea how it's going to play, how off season is going to play out. Why would you? So I think you mentioned politically, Gary. I think this is what we're all trying to say is we were all raised as middle class Pirate fans, and everybody relax. I just wanted to make a joke.
That's the truth though. Like we're all frustrated with what we're seeing. I just think we've gotten ourselves to the point of that level of frustration where we're now going to ask for things that just don't happen anywhere. You're not going to get better here than you get anywhere else. At best, let's reach the bottom rung of the ladder before we start trying to pretend that we can see the top. That's all I'm saying. Let's get to the lowest common denominator before we start asking to be run like the best teams in baseball, because they don't. They don't. And they do say, like Doug, even this, some say we're not good enough. I'm picking on you because you keep commenting. They said we didn't do good enough. He just didn't say it the right way. Like there's magic words people want to hear, and every person is different as to what those magic words are. Some people want to hear him come out and just say they suck, and I'm going to make major changes next year, and nobody's safe. Okay, and then they don't do anything, and then they look feckless next year because they didn't do anything. They have to pretend right away to tell you the things they saw that changed their mind. Most of them would prefer to just keep it tight to the vest unless their boss makes them be more transparent with you.
Which is
the more trouble they're in, the more you hear.
And it's not going to happen here. And that's the thing. Like, we didn't even get to this. We're going to have to wrap it up. Like the whole selling the team, like it's great. It's great. It's great to say. It's probably, never going to happen. And that's fine if that's the space and the time that you want to spend on things and your energy. But I don't think, at least you and I, Gary, I don't know that we're necessarily wired that way. To focus on. So I probably do more than you. I get upset at certain things too.
I'll laugh at most of it. Like when I see the billboards that are going up, I think here on December 11th, I have no problem with anybody doing it. I'm glad somebody's trying to do something, but I'll probably laugh at them when I drive past. I think they're funny. I think it's funny when people do things like that. I think it's funny when people Photoshop things. I think it's funny when people pay for cameos to say other teams are poverty. I think that stuff's funny, but it ain't gonna change anything.
I love the airplane banner, right? Flying with the airplane banner. Look, I don't want to criticize anybody for trying to do something. Like I do respect someone actually putting action behind their words, because so much of Twitter is like, if they do this, I'm not a fan anymore, and that's it. And then the next day they're right online.
And I have to say, the people that have been doing this so far, they have not been people that have been, we're not fans anymore. They're just straight up saying like, I want him gone.
Yeah,
that's all there is to it. They're not threatening like they're not going to watch him anymore. Right. They don't care about him or anything. They genuinely love the team.
Yeah, in a Twitter world filled with the empty proclamations and promises, I can at least respect whatever it is you're doing, whether it's with the Pirates selling or whatever. You want to put some action behind that, I can give you props for that. I will, but I don't know that necessarily it's going to have any impact on anything.
I mean,
So.
that's the funny part. We're going to get into this offseason more as we continue to move on. Next week, probably not so much because we're just going to be silly next week. But as we get through this offseason, I think we're probably going to end up talking ourselves into thinking they're pretty good. And it's mostly going to be because of the pitching staff. You and I tend to like overcompensate on the pitching staff. We either say that it's way too bad or way too good, and we put too much emphasis on the pitching staff. Last year we did for sure. And it turned out the exact opposite of what we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, maybe some lessons learned there with the bullpen at least.
Yeah. So we'll see how it works out, but I think like by the time I get to spring, I expect this team to be at least on a trajectory where I feel like playoffs are there. They should do it next year. I guess like for me, I'm okay with everybody doing all the protests and everything. I think it's going to be hard to keep up like in season once I'm watching Paul Skeens go and I feel like I'm enjoying the in and out and day to day of watching this rotation go, and I'm hoping that O'Neal Cruz matures a little more and things. I feel like I'm going to kind of get to the point where, man, I hope you don't have a whole lot more saved up. I hope you haven't reserved those billboards, and it's going to be a little strange, I think.
Yeah, you know, we touched on this before we came on, and it did get me thinking. I was like, next year, I think, like, to me, if things crash and burn, then go full Cleveland Browns, you know, on ownership.
We don't have to get to Sean Watson, right? I mean, I don't want that.
Well, you know, I'm not touching that. But maybe it's a little premature. Look, if you're convinced that this is a dumpster fire, okay, you may be right, and you got a jump start on it. But if it was my money and I was just waiting to pounce, I probably would let next season play out because it's going to anyway. And then I don't think there's really any recourse at that point if it does fail.
I would
badly.
Agree with you.
Badly.
I would agree with you.
I'm saying. Yeah.
But
hey, someone decided to say something and back it up. Whatever that is, that's cool for me.
Yeah, it's better than the alternative because there's an awful lot of people that love to say stuff and wouldn't actually do anything.
Just the empty promises about
Absolutely,
how you're never going to watch anything again or support. And that's across all sports. So
yeah, I mean, because the other part of that is I don't care. Like I don't care whether you want to watch or not. Just don't watch.
Just do it. Just do it and be done with it.
To me, that's like announcing you're going to leave social media. People do that all the time, and I'm always like, all right.
Right. I guess I'll make my chunky soup now.
This is the only place I ever knew you. It's not like we're gonna share a donut.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck with whatever, and maybe we'll talk again. I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny.
Anyways,
man. Hey, good show. Next week, Halloween, 8:00. Be here, be square. It's gonna be fun. Yeah, send us your pictures online. Send them to @the Pirates Fan Forum on Twitter, or hit me with them on Facebook. Show me your costumes for Halloween. Hopefully, they're not too risque. I am a married man, so let's keep them clean.
Yeah, we don't need anybody. We don't need anything that needs to be blurred out. Let's just put it that way.
Absolutely. But if you send me some, I'll see if I can work them into the show here and there. Anyways, let's toss it off to our buddy Ben.
Let's go, Buck!
Yeah, buddy. All right, see you, everybody, and go whichever team wins. I really don't care.